Now, what I want to get into now is the 2,000-year dismantling this particular person called Jesus. I'm going to get into this particular history and show you that he is the ultimate enemy to black people. And that's why they're giving him more and more. Now, as you notice, they got this white boy named Marilyn Manson. He's going around the country called Antichrist Superstar. Although he looks like he's crazy and shit, he say, I'm fighting the messes. I'm fighting these fucking Christian fascism. These Christian fascists. And he says he's fighting against Christian fascism. And now the church is coming all out against him. And he's a bit wild looking and all that kind of stuff. But basically, that's the act that he put on because that's the way you draw attention that's the way you draw attention in rock and roll or in the concert or in the music world. The more bizarre you look, the more and more people pay attention. So that's just a part of him rising to fame. He has to do it that way. But in actuality, he's on a crusade to talk shit about the damn Christians in the church and how they are the embodiment of evil, because there's a problem with good. So now, Blavatsky, commentary on the Gnostics, said, on Jesus in her book called Blavatsky and Gnosticism, she said that Jesus was actually a Dalebroth, and the angel who laid with her was actually the devil, or an embodiment of evil. Now, we understand that based on your girl Tuella's book, based on the Gnostic scripture, Jehovah is a form of a Dalebroth, which is this particular subordinate deity. This particular subordinate deity. Well, if Jesus is the son of Jehovah, and sometimes called Jehovah, he has to be a Dalebroth too. Now let me go into the history of this particular part, because we know in the guy Tertullian says that the Messiah anointed by the Jews is, well, he didn't anoint it, the Romans did it. They just called him the Jews, the king of the Jews. Was in actuality the false Messiah, or the demiurge, which is also known as the subordinate deities, that only rule the lower part of the universe and not the higher one. But it says that particular one is the false one, but the real one is yet to come, but will. Now, let's look at Revelations. Revelation says, and based on how all the Christians talk, that the false prophet will come. Right? That the false prophet will come. And he will deceive the whole world as being the Messiah. You heard that before? The Antichrist, or the false Messiah, false prophet, will perceive the entire world as being the Messiah. Everybody heard this before. This is all what the preachers, and they say this shit to this day. On all your Christian networks, TBN and all them old crazy bastards. Now let's look at this. If this is true, within the last 8 or 9 years, there's been study in the African community, the New Age community, and all across the world saying that they got other messiahs in all cultures. The most ancient being the god Heru, or Ra-Heru Kahudi. But yet, people still disregard those teachings, and the masses of people perceive Jesus Christ as being the Messiah, right? So now, if they say that the last days that Jesus, that the Messiah, who is supposed to be the false Messiah, will be perceived in the world as being the Messiah, we know that the Jesus shit is stronger than it was 10 years ago. So therefore, the false Messiah have to be Jesus, because most of the people who even believe in the damn Revelations don't believe in no other messiahs, right? So even that, the book tells on itself by saying who the hell the Messiah, the false prophet, was. It also says that there will be I will behold a man on a white horse, and he will have a book in his hand that nobody knows. And he will have a name in his hand that nobody knows. So that can't be the goddamn Bible. And it can't be Jesus. Now that's in the Bible of the Messiah. So therefore, the name that people know has got to be the false Messiah. Now, let's go into this particular history. Your boy's book, let me get his book that you want to get. He broke half of the mystery, the historical origins of Christianity is the name of the book. Historical Origins of Christianity. And the name of the brother is, oh man. I'll give you a name in a few minutes. Walter Williams from Chicago. And he did his work and traced the word Jesus back to Zeus. Jesus. Now, based on the information, you got two gods. You got one in Rome. The chief god is called Jupiter. The chief god in Greece is called Zeus. You take who Zeus in Greece is also called Jupiter. And in Rome, Jupiter is called Zeus. Same thing. So you take the J and put in front of the actual Zeus, which Zeus in the actual Greek language, because I have the actual documentation in a book called Myths by Donald Richardson or something like that, Myths and Mysteries of Ancient Egypt, where they talk about Zeus was pronounced Zeus. Sus. So you take the J, from Jupiter and put it on Zeus and you get Jesus, which is Hispanic. They still say Jesus because, you know, Spanish is older than English because Spain, the Moors, introduced that whole shit. So you get Jesus, right? Or Jesus, or either Zeus and Jupiter. Put it together and you get the word Jupiter. Or you get the word Jesus. Now, this is the key. Now, I want you to brainstorm here for a minute. Either way you put it, this is not a fucking Hebrew word. It's a Greek word or a Roman word. It's either based on Greek language, it's a composite of Greek language and Latin. Now, based on the history, we know that the Greeks pillaged the Library of Alexandria after they built the Library of Alexandria by making the Hemmites or the Egyptians take the shit from out of the temples and put in one library. And they built the Library of Alexandria. Then they took a lot of the material to Greece. Then we know the Romans came by. They were so damn dumb. They didn't do one thing in history, kill people. And what they did, they burnt down the damn Library of Alexandria. So then the Greeks later on falls to Rome. Then Rome see these Hebrew motherfuckers who is black people out there raising hell, and they saying, shit, we need to get us a new religion because Romulus and Remus ain't happening, right? So they say, well, shit, we got all the stuff over here that Rome, that the motherfucking Greeks left. Because the damn Greeks was the more intellectual people, but all that stuff came from the Etruscans or the Etruria. You get the word Etruria, and later on you get the word Troy. You get the word Trojan. See, anytime you see about the war, the Trojan War, and the Greeks wiping out the Trojans, that was the Greeks wiping out the Etruscans, the last black people who gave them the language, the mythology, and the culture, and built all the fucking buildings. The white Greeks wiped them out, and you get Troy. Troy comes from Etruscan. Etruscan come from Etruria, and Etruria come from Chaldea. And the people out of Chaldea was a spin-off that became the Phoenicians and sailed to Greece and Rome. That's the history on this shit. Anyway, the Romans say, we got all this shit from Greece. Just laying over there. Hell, why can't we just go and just plagiarize all this shit, get Paul, Josephus, and all these other asshole motherfuckers, Mark, Luke, and all them bitches, and get them motherfuckers and come up in here and plagiarize the shit. Right? Now that's the history. They took 7 conferences. 7 conferences. The conference of Constantinople, 1. The conference of Ephesus, the conference of Chalcedon, the conference of Nicaea, the council of Constantinople, 2. Anyway, it was 7 conferences, and over 7 years that we get the whole composite of this whole fucking lie. The greatest hoax to mankind called Christianity. You know, John Henry Clark calls it that. The greatest hoax to mankind. Now, they say we got all this information, let's just plagiarize the shit. But we gonna add one shit up in the motherfucker, gonna make the shit uniquely ours. We gonna take the God, cause see, okay, this is the history of Rome and Jupiter, the Rome and Greece. The Romans got all the Greek stuff that they got from Egypt, wrote it all down, and your Bibles come what? Latin and Greek. Here you got all these old Christian motherfuckers talking about this shit is all Hebrew, but yet when you tell them, well, wait, we'll get back to your earlier shit, they go to Latin and Greek. Well, I thought them was pagan damn cultures. You talk so much shit about Rome and the pagan cultures, why you trace your shit can only trace it back to Latin and Greek? And when you talk the Hebrew shit, you can only deal with that in the Old Testament, which the Christians say you don't even supposed to even read the Old Testament. Now let me show you the contradiction. So anyway, they plagiarized this thing, but the Greeks, they got all this particular information, which is a composite of Hemmitt, Babylonia, Samaria, and all of this stuff, and make these books. Then they're going to take 19 chapters out of the books later on till it's nothing but just a rag sheet now. And it's a fucking pamphlet. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, dealing with this, now look at the science on this. They say, well, we're going to do one thing. Although this stuff is a composite of Greek, Latin, Egyptian, Samaria, Babylonia, India, Turkey, fucking Africa, all that shit. Because if the Library of Egypt, if the Greeks plagiarized all this stuff, they just had all this shit at their damn beckon, at their disposal. So they put this book together. They say, now, we got the Messiah. We copied all that shit from Heru and the other messiahs around the world. We done put the monopoly on it where he's going to be the only one. Whenever you think of the Messiah, you only think of one person as the Messiah. But let's put the shit where we can put our stamp and our seal so we can go in immortality or go into the modern world as a legitimate religion. And we'll take the chief god of Rome and the chief god of Greece, put it together, and the word will be a Greek and Roman invention. Now look at this. Now I'm going to show you something here. People never think because the programming is so powerful. Now, look at the science here. The first thing they tell you that Jesus was a Jew or a Hebrew, right? And he's the king of the Jews, and he's the offspring of David and Solomon and all these other motherfuckers. And we got a thing now that David was nothing but fucking Akhenaten. Star David was fucking damn Akhenaten, and David is supposed to be the author of Psalms. All that shit was, if you get the damn book of Psalms and get the hymns of Akhenaten, them shit match. And Akhenaten becomes fucking David. That's the father of their motherfucking race. Anyway, Jesus is supposed to be a Jew, right? Now this is the deal. So now the Romans done got them a new book. They come to the damn Jews. They say, we got the Messiah, and he is Jewish. Now look at the shit here. This is the key. Jews say, that motherfucker ain't, we talking about black people in Israel at that time, which is still 85% blue-black. They just don't let you see them shit. See that, just like in Arabia. They say, that motherfucker ain't no damn Messiah there. Who the fuck is this bastard here? Wait a minute, our Messiah is supposed to come in the last days. His name is Metatron. That's the Kabbalah. He's the only angel that occupies the top sphere and the bottom sphere. Metatron comes from the word Medu-Ra-Atan. He's Egyptian. Kamite, a form of Horus, Heru out of Ethiopia. He's Metatron. They say, that motherfucker ain't ours. Now I'm going to show you. First of all, this shit got a Greek name. Now I want to show you something here. How in the fuck? He's supposed to be Hebrew with a Greek name, and they ain't got a damn letter J in none of the Greek, none of the damn Hebrew alphabet. And the white man ain't got no damn trouble announcing or pronouncing the Hebrew words. He can pronounce the whole fucking Old Testament and half of the New. So why don't you give him a Hebrew name? Do you think about this for a minute? Now, hold on. This man is supposed to be the king of the Jews. Some black people at that particular time, that was the epitome of their faith because they were black people. And we always do religion better than any other fucker. Their religion was least to be desired and all that mundane shit because they had their high priest that got into some other high science, that's Kabbalah. But we talking about the 5 books of Moses, which was some plagiarized shit from damn the Book of the Dead and all that shit out of Egypt. You know the history. But still, yet, it's some black people doing some new shit, and they're more powerful than the Romans. Now, here it is, they are copying. Now, here it is, they are copying. They're saying that the Messiah is Jewish, but he got a Greek and a Roman name. Now, look at the scenario here. We're going to do it like Malcolm X used to do. Like the kittens in the oven don't make the biscuits. You got to break it down on layman's terms. Look, somebody come to you. They say, we got a book about a Messiah that grew up in North America in the projects. He fought against, we just give you the scenario. So he fought against the government of that day, and he was crucified on the damn cross. Okay? So far you might be buying this shit. Because they done lined this stuff up with a little bit of metaphysical things. So-called you might be buying this shit. You go, yeah. You got a Messiah. He mean this motherfucker black? I can buy that. What's his name? Deng Xiaoping. You get that shit? Right? Can you imagine that shit? Wait a minute. This a black Messiah? Yeah. What's his name? Deng Xiaoping. Chow Lao Lee. Fu Manchu. You get that? Can you imagine the motherfucking Hebrew? Well, what's his motherfucking name? Jesus. That ain't no damn Hebrew name. Then you understand even why the white fake Jew don't believe in that bullshit to this day who copied this shit. Because they got the inside scoop. This is a false motherfucker. You get this thing, if you just study just the name. The Hebrew shit is all a haka taka haka 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 taka haka 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 a hakamai and all that old shit. Ain't a J nowhere in the shit. You see what I'm saying? That's Greece and Rome. You see? Then you get the science on this. Well, let's go on then. Let's go on then. All right. Let's go on. Let's deal with some parts before I go into who this Zeus motherfucker is. First of all, the white boy Milo Duquette said before Christmas, well, whatever the Christians is looking for, based on, let's get the word, we just call him Jesus for the sake of argument. Whoever the Messiah is coming back, he gonna look more like the devil than he is gonna look like so-called Jesus. It just depends on whose side you on when this motherfucker come back. You see, he would be the devil of white people, right? Okay. Now I'm gonna show you something here. Right now, so you can understand this particular information. Now you know there's a there's a book called The Last Days of Jesus Christ the Vampire. It's a book out. Now, look at the science on this. First of all, in order to understand who Zeus is, I want to read something to you. Let's see if I can get this Nag Hammadi. Let's see, this is Nag Hammadi. Nag Hammadi. You know, and I want to get this particular part from, there's several parts of this particular book, but I want to get the Nag Hammadi, Hammadi, and I want to show you this. In the Nag Hammadi scriptures, which is the Gnostic scriptures dug up in 1945, it says this. Now, they're talking about the creator of this world. Now, the creator of this world has control in the place that is between heaven and earth. Now, that motherfucker ain't too high. That's like the atmosphere shit. He's between heaven and earth and the sea. But he does not possess. Oh, hold on, let me go on. Let me read this again. Now, the creator that controls this planet is between the heaven and the earth. That means that person is not in heaven. And this is the oldest shit in the world. This is about 5,000 years old in the written word. So this is the real deal shit here. Because this particular part here is the Hermetic text. And listen. Now, the creator controls the place between the heaven and the earth. He is called Zeus. That is his life. Platonus Zeus is the Lord over the earth and the sea. But he does not possess the nourishment of all mortal living creatures. For it is the core that bears the fruit. These forces are all powerful in a circle of the earth, but those others always from him who is. Now this is what it means. This passage right now is giving up who is God and who is the devil. Now, I want to go back. You want to study the tape to understand this shit. I want to go back carefully and I'm explaining this shit, what it just said. First of all, this is Tahuti talking. Tahuti says that the God who runs the earth, that is the God or the Father in heaven, is only between heaven and earth. That means he don't run heaven. His name is Zeus. Okay? It also says, well, who the fuck runs the heaven? Who is the real God? He says it right here. It says, Zeus, first of all, does not possess the nourishment for all living creatures, which means he ain't our motherfucking God. Depends on who you are. But listen to this. Now this is the key. Now this is probably one of the greatest lines ever heard. You will have no doubt anymore. Look at this shit right here. For it is the core who bears the fruit. Now listen. These forces are all powerful in a circle of the earth. Now where the hell is that? The core of the motherfucking earth in a circle. What you call hell? It's in the ground. The inner earth. That's the people who run the fucking universe. That's Satan, which we're going to get into tonight. It says it right here in the 5,000-year-old papyrus, which is this is the Nag Hammadi scripture, but this coming from the Hermetic text, Hermetica, which sets up the basis for all religions. This is the stuff that is so old, they smuggle it out of the Library of Alexandria, and all religion come. This is the oldest text in the world. The Hermetica, which is the teachings of Tahuti. It just says right here. And let me read another one. Read another translation. Let's see here. This is another translation. This is coming from this book. It says that the ruler, it says, The air is the instrument which is all of these gods' work, and by the means of all is done. The ruler of air is a subordinate distributor of life. Did you just hear that shit? The ruler of air is a subordinate distributor of life, which means he is lesser. Subordinate means someone up under the most fucking high. You get this? This is coming from Hermetical Walter Scott's book. It's the oldest shit, which by the grace of God is back out and you can get the shit. Now listen to this. They then came back and done a new book and took this shit out. This one was from the 1920s or the 30s or the 40s. The new one, they done took the shit out and made it. Put the motherfucker back like he the highest. Listen, but this is the original scripture. Look, I want to read this again. Y'all getting this? What it is we've been talking about this Adalabra thing, and we talk about a subordinate deed. Now this is some amazing shit. If you really hear on what this thing is saying, listen to what I'm saying here. And see, this is how the spirit works. I don't even go searching for this shit. I just open the book, and there it is on the page. I found three different translations, and I just did this. And this one here, I found the other day after I found one that was the truth, and I found a newer one which changed it around. And then I found another later one in this one, it opened it straight to the page, and that's how the spirit works. That's how I know this shit is right and exact. Just open the page, and there it is. I don't even have to go looking for the shit. How many people did that? Just open the page, and what you see, jump out at your ass. If you own the case. Listen, let's go back. Now the creation, no, that's the first one I read. Okay. The air is the instrument for which all of these gods work. And we say these gods. Because there's a group of motherfuckers that we've been worshiping that's not up under us. And they don't like the shit. See, my house just got broken too. They stole my TV and my VCR on Monday. And then Spirit came and said, well, number one, they sent a message, the reason why they got. I'm going to tell you about that tomorrow. Something they wanted me to see about black people. Another thing was, they say that them gods is mad with you. Because I did this shit on a Sunday, and I unveiled these motherfuckers who've been ruling over us that we've been praying to all these years. You know, any sun god is the damn ones that's up under us. We are not even gods. We are chaos beings. Listen, the Book of Law said there is no God where I am. There is no God. I spit in the face of Jesus and Muhammad. Listen, there is the instrument which all these gods work. And by means of all which is done, the ruler of air is a subordinate distributor of life. To him belongs the region between the heavens and the earth. He is called Zeus. Earth and the sea are ruled by Zeus. He is that supplies the nourishment of all mortal beings that have a soul, and all all trees that bear fruit. It is his power, and the fruits of the earth are produced. Then it says, there are the other gods besides whose the powers and the operations are distributed to all things that exist. But the God who dwells above the summit of the highest heaven is present everywhere, and from all around he watches all things. His abode is beyond fucking heaven, in the starless region, far removed from these, from all things corporal. Now that just said that what we've been calling God in heaven is a damn subordinate deity, and our shit is beyond. But where is it? It said on the other translation, which is the one dug up from 1945, it says it's in the core of the earth, in a circle, which is the core of the earth, which is hell. which is Satan, is beyond this other God. We're going to go into the history of that tonight. They'll tell you this is going to stick this shit out. You see what I'm saying? Stick it out. You got to get this thing. Now let me go into this thing. In the book, The Western Way, in the book, The Western Way, by Caitlin Matthews and John Matthews and something Caitlin. In that book, The Western Way, they explain who Zeus is, and it simply says that Zeus is the demiurge. Now, if anybody heard me teach over the last course of the last 2-3 years, I've been talking about the demiurge, which is subordinate deities, which is simply called a Dalabra, which is this lower deity. You getting this? Yeah. Now, if Zeus is the demiurge and is a Dalabra, then Jesus, which is the name, when you call on his name, you calling on the very person who put us down this motherfucker entrapment. Now let's go into some history of Zeus. In order to understand the history of Zeus, you must understand the history of the Titan race. First of all, it says, let's get this right. Okay. I'll read that in a few minutes. Y'all bear with me. Let me get a good part on the Titan race. A couple of things we're going to deal with right now. First thing we're going to deal with is this. The classical Greek mythology. We need to go back beyond the familiar pantheon of Zeus and the fellow Olympians. Now, if anybody saw the opening of the 1996 Olympics in the South, Atlanta last year, they did a ritual to Zeus at the opening. That's a Dalabra, that's Jesus to keep the earth plane going in the laws of nature in the physical earth. And Zeus rules over all the laws of nature. Now listen, we got to rebel against the laws of nature. The classical mythology, we need to go back beyond Zeus and the fellow Olympians to the gods, listen, to the gods of whom they overthrew, who are their parents and who are known as the Titans. They're key that you understand this shit. In the book The Black Sun, they tell you that when the white man want a movie to do well, only thing he does is he can make a movie do well by putting out false statistics. And the people will pack, they will say, listen, this movie is the greatest blockbuster ever. Once they say that shit, the people will line up around the damn block to see it. You see? They just released the movie Titanic. Now, first of all, the movie went down because it was doomed from the start because of the the ship, excuse me. But they released the movie for one other reason. I'll get to that in a few minutes, but let's go into the history of the Titans. The origin of the Titans, or giant gods, is so far back in time as we have a scenic background, only the earth in the sky. They were born to a primordial mother, Gaia, fathered by Uranus, the heavenly deep primordial sky father. Now, first of all, let me get this straight to you. Before I go into this, what happened recently with the Afrocentric movement. George G.M. James produced the book Stolen Legacy, and later on, to piggyback off that, Mark Bernard did Black Athena. Yes, it is true that the Greeks went up into Egypt, or Hemmitt, and borrowed mysteries of mathematics, geometry, astronomy, astrology, and all of that. But we're talking about Homer and the Greek myth, which is totally different. what we didn't realize is we were turned off in studying the Greek myths is because based on we were looking at the Greeks and how they borrowed stuff from Egypt, but we got our time cycles wrong. The Greek language, the mythology, and the architectural building came from the Etruscans, Troy, the Trojans, the Phoenicians, the Chaldeans, in an earlier time period. Remember the first book, the Iliad and the Odyssey, appears in Greece. That's of another people's mythology. You see, later on the white Greeks went into Egypt. That's a total different time zone in which they borrowed shit from Egypt. You understand? The other stuff, when you talk about Greek myths, come from a black people. So we just say, fuck Greece, and we didn't realize that the stuff that was inherently Greece was black. And we are talking about a later period when the dumbass white Greeks who took over and killed off the Trojans, the Etruscans, Etruria, those particular ones went into Egypt and studied. But the Greek myths come from Etruria, Chaldea, Babylonia, Samaria, by way of that. So, by us denying the Greek myths, which was our other half of the black myths, we missed out on the pieces to the puzzle. And what I mean by that is this. Hemmitt had an ancient mythology called Titanianism, which advanced, matured, and died out before the first monuments were built. We now know that the Hyksos was not a Asian invaders or Mesopotamian or Sumerian invaders. The Hyksos was a group of black people who were earlier Typhonians who was right there in Egypt that just took over from right there. It was a group of Egyptians, the Hamites. Jeremiah talks about that. The key is this. Unfortunately, if you read Egypt or Hemmitt, although there's a lot of papyrus, a lot of things are not clear. There's a lot of stuff in fragments. You don't get a whole story of the picture of the gods. Why is that? Because Hemmitt was so old, it was more vulnerable to years of war, rape, pillage, people taking things out. Even the Hamites themselves, when another ideology rose up, they would erase. They had a habit of erasing earlier shit from the damn walls. So the Typhonian stuff that they got, they locked down since 1907, so we don't see that stuff. But it survived in Samaria, which I'm going to get into tomorrow, the Babylonian shit, and on into Greece. So the Greek stuff is the ancient Typhonian stuff that was earlier than Amun-Ra and Osiris. Not because the white people, it's earlier because it's the Typhonian stuff that was in Egypt, made its way out of Hemmitt before Hemmitt wiped that shit from the monuments. You get this? That's why Typhon is in the early Greek myths. Now let's go into this. Listen. So by us denying that, we didn't realize that ain't no white person created that shit. It was all black. Even Hakim Bey told you that the white statues of Greece was built in the 1800s. And I said that on a lecture not too long ago that they found a big-ass statue under the ocean near Greece, and when they dated it, that motherfucker said 1972. That means that they put the shit up under there. You get it? So now, when we deny this, we misconstrue time cycles. And because the Afrocentric community had to be so political a lot of times, we had problems just even saying the shit was black in Egypt. We sure couldn't say that Greece was black too. Not the white people. But white people ain't inventors of nothing. Even Farrakhan told motherfucking damn Donahue back in 1990. He said, don't tell us to go back to Africa, because if we tell you where to go, where would you go? Because you ain't no native nowhere. Nowhere on the earth, not even Europe. All right, let's deal with this thing. It says that it first came from a primordial god, Gaia, and Uranus. They had 12 titans 6 brothers, 6 sisters, and we have a strange story that originally Uranus kept procreating with Gaia and imprisoning his children within her. In other words, the archetypal forces with subsequent life on earth came from the starry heavens. Now, let me explain this. I'm going to go into this without reading so I can tell you the story. In the original time, first of all, we know that the Greek myths couldn't have been white because they're matriarchal. The first thing that appears is Gaia, the great mother. And ain't no white man ever wrote no shit about no great mother matriarchal because they're patriarchal people. So right there for the original fact, and they said, first creation, Gaia is the great mother, you know that the shit is black. Okay, the children. So, Gaia one time, what Gaia does one time, sooner or later, they give birth to Kronos. They give birth to the Titan race, and Kronos is one of the Titans. Kronos, then again, didn't want his children to be born because he knew that they would go lower, or they would one day overthrow him. So he would eat his children. He has a wife by the name of Rhea. And one day, Rhea fools him and gives him a rock to eat, or a stone to eat. This is all mythology when it's talking about high energy and how it comes down lower. So don't take it literally. And after he had devoured most of the children, she gives them a stone to eat, and they save the last child, Zeus. That's the same as the Adalabra story, breaking out the side of the womb and coming out of heaven, which is a subordinate deity. Zeus later on comes down, goes back, and frees the rest of his brothers and sisters. So first you got Gaia, and you got Uranus. And they give birth to some giants and some titans, same thing. These older races of gods. Then one of the titans have children and have a younger race of gods, and Zeus actually gets away from them and frees the younger race of gods, and the younger race of gods do battle for 10 years with the higher race of gods, which is the Titans, which is us, black people. They fight for 10 years, and for some reason, the younger race of people subdue us. How do they subdue us? Because when we go and fight them, we have to go and fight them on a lower level because they're down lower, and we are not used to the low level, so therefore we lose the war at first. You get it? Better watch that tape and player. Okay, now let's go on. Anyway, we lose the war. So, at the time when we lose the actual war, after 10 years, Zeus has a son by the name of Demetrius, or Demeter. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that, Dionysus. The Titans fool Dionysus, giving him toys. It's all mythology now. He goes to their side and they eat his ass. And that's the same thing as Osiris being cut up into several pieces. Dionysus and Osiris is the same thing. Zeus gets mad, and he takes the Titans after they had lost the war, and he destroys all of the Titans. He crushes them up, and they have a mixture of Dionysus, who they have eaten, and their energy, or their particular bodies, or their particular energy. He crushes them up, and he makes human beings out of the dust of the Titans and Dionysus mixed up. So the Titanian dust that they make the human beings out of is what? Melanin. Melanin. He sets up heaven on Mount Olympus, and his group of sisters, which was younger than the Titans that they defeated, rule this motherfucker. He put Poseidon over the sea. He put Hades down under the ground. He put certain people under, he put Atlas to hold up the damn air. he take Atlas, and I think Atlas is actually a Titan, and he actually holds up the earth. Where you get the word Atlas from. He holds up the earth. Now listen to this. Y'all getting this? Anyway, these Titans are nothing but the ancient black chaos beings that used to rule before a younger group of deities, which are solar deities, set up rule on Mount Olympus, Zeus being the head of them. He takes the actual Titans and hurl them down into a place called Tartarus. Tartarus, you get the word torture from a place called Tartarus, which is at when they say that the most high gods are up under the earth in a circle, because the most high gods used to be the most primordial beings that created the universe. You get this? He hurled them down in a place called Tartarus. Right up above Tartarus is Hades, where he makes human beings, and after they die, his brother Hades takes them and reincarnate their ass and keep them coming back here. So the Titans are actually under Tartarus, but we are made out of Titanian dust, and Tartarus is inside of our brains, which is the black dot, which is a mentor, the hidden place, the most supreme part of the subconscious. Our bodies are made out of this dust, which is melanin, basically. Later on, a certain thing happens. You got a Titan that chilled. He kind of like didn't get too much involved in the fight. When they was fighting for 10 years, he kind of like chilled for a while. He kind of stepped back because he knew that, hell, if a motherfucker lose, he needed to be on point so he could one day save the Titans. So when the Zeus god set up Olympus, this Titan by the name of Prometheus is chilling. So when the gods say when they was in the program of making the man, they had several parts of the sacred bull. Anytime you hear the word bull, that's talking about another form of melanin or energy. And they was cutting up the sacred bull and dividing this bull up between the gods and the man. At that particular time, Prometheus would take the best parts of the bull and give it to the man, and they didn't know nothing about it. This is all just talking about the distribution of energy. Who gets what energy? If you get out of the mythology, because that's all we are, energy. Prometheus goes, and one day, at this particular time, man is made a servant to serve the gods of Olympus. And we start worshiping them.